and thank you so much for joining us here today in Epiphany.
Well, greetings to you from God's country up here, right at the border of Saginaw and Detroit. So great to be back, and thank you so much for your kind invitation.
Oh, my pleasure to have you on, Father. And what is it like for you to be in the northern Lapeer County family of parishes compared to where you grew up and where you served prior?
Well, so to kind of sum it up, it's a dream come true. This is something that personally I've been hoping for, and I honestly thought I'd be a little bit older down the road to come up this way, but the good Lord had other plans. So basically, I'm from Roseville, the east side of Detroit, and so as you may or may not know, it's kind of busy. There's a lot of industry where I grew up, and kind of all the houses are about the same, backyards are the same, and very nice. I'm grateful where I grew up. But then in 2011, I came up here to help Father Rich Tremmel, who was the pastor 24 years, just retired this year. He needed a lackey, kind of a driver to get him around after a knee surgery. And so I had 6 weeks here up in St. Peter and Paul and the other parishes, and honestly, after 6 weeks, you would have thought I was the mayor. You know, I got to know so many good people, and I just, like a bad habit, kept coming back, wouldn't go away, and as God would have it, now I get to serve these fine people as their priest, and it's amazing.
I absolutely love that. So tell us a little bit about the family of parishes that you serve.
Absolutely, sure. So obviously I got to give each one their due, so I'll just take a little time to give a summary of each place. But basically, I'll start with Sacred Heart Brown City, because they're a very beautiful community in the sense they've always had this sense of who they are, what they do, and one of the things I appreciate about them is that they have this openness, this welcoming presence to anybody that comes. And for a long time they were blessed to have a long-term pastor. The most recent one was Father Paul Zarnata, who now works for the Tribunal, and they just have a great love for their priests, an openness to their community, and a very devotional way of praying. And it's a joy to visit them and to lead them. St. Mary's in Burnside, I obviously, if I had four parishes, they're kind of like my four spiritual children. I'm very dear to them because it's the last, to my knowledge, it's the last Catholic church in the Archdiocese on a dirt road, and it's the country parish. Very small, but very beautiful. One of the things I appreciate about them is that after Mass on Sundays, the people will stand outside, talk, and just visit with one another, very concerned for one another. And also, too, it's just they have that beautiful devotional style of prayer, and it's an honor to serve them. St. Patrick's in Clifford, this is the legitimate small town where maybe the once a month when we have Mass, you get 28 to 45 people, but the one thing that I appreciate is the history, the community that is very devoted to their parish. They take care of the needs, and there's such a joy of coming together and to have a potluck at the end of the Mass once a month, and to just maintain the good work that had been there for now a century and a quarter, I think. And finally, here at St. Peter and Paul North Branch, this is kind of the hub, if you will. This is where a lot of the activities, the daily Mass. The one thing that's beautiful about this place is that before the Mass, there's a group that prays the Rosary and the Chaplet of Divine Mercy every day. The Masses are very reverent. The people are very kind. And also, too, it's kind of nice to have, in a sense, the HQ where people can come to be formed, to learn how to pray, to celebrate, worship God. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful community to be at.
Father, how challenging is it for you to manage all four? That's a lot. Do you have support, or how does that work logistically?
So briefly, before I came here, Father Rich Tremmel was the pastor, and I do have to honor him because he was here 24 years. He was basically like Dad. He was very kind, very loving, and the people were very sad to see him retire. He did his best to hang in there, and he did it with the support of one associate pastor. Father Sama Muma was the most recent one, good man, and without question, he did need that support as he wasn't able to maybe be there and do everything. And so, needless to say, when Father Rich retired, he's certainly a dear part of our community, and I'm trying to find ways of getting him involved. But with me and my age, I am able this time to handle, if you will, the workload, the sacraments, and just do my best to support each place as I can. So, for example, I do have 2 priests that help me out. The aforementioned Father Paul Zornata, he does 1 Mass on a weekend, and it's a great help. Plus, it gives a fresh perspective for the people with his homilies. And then I have nearby Father Larry Deloney. He's a wonderful priest. He used to be mainly over at Waterford Our Lady of the Lakes, but he's since retired, and he covers 1 to 2 Masses on a weekend, plus fill-in as needed. And he's a very gentle soul. He's very kind, very uplifting homilies, and the support that those 2 priests give me help me to do the day-to-day work, the ministry, and just the particular care for each site. And just briefly, even though, again, I'm only 38, we'll say the spirit is willing, the flesh is willing at this point. But I'm trying not to outdo it. I'm trying not to burn myself out. But I've been able to add a few more times for confession. I'm adding some different type of things for like a men's group for our family parishes, and then to support the stuff that's already there. So many good ministries out this way.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And then, I read, Father, that part of your ministry is, supporting families and focusing on end-of-life issues. How did that come to be for you?
So one of the things, briefly, up at this parish, there is a bereavement ministry. A lady named Virginia Finkbeiner. She does such a wonderful job. She lost her husband not too long ago, and they have just a beautiful manual that they created. I think Father James Arwady, when he was here, he supported them and gave them a lot of resources. But basically, what it comes down to is the ministry that's already here. So making use of the beautiful wisdom of these widows and the fellows who've lost their spouses, and relying on them to help me as I assist families and as I assist individuals as they come forward. Personally, my father just passed away 1 week ago, and what's been amazing.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It's been the outreach of the people here, the people from my prior parish, Resurrection in Canton. I do love them very much, and I do miss serving them, but they were very kind in outreach. And so basically, a lot of the principles that I've been able to minister to people, that I've been able to share with them in grief and in counseling, I was then able to personally kind of grieve and mourn the loss of my dad, but then also have a beautiful chance to lead my family in paying our respects and celebrating that massive resurrection for him on Saturday. So.
That's beautiful. And Father, tell us a little bit about your path to priesthood. I know you studied education, you went to OU, so tell us a little bit about your discernment process and how you ended up at seminary.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I was studying elementary education. I wanted to be a reading specialist, and to be honest, before I was called to priesthood, I wanted to be married and have 5 kids, 3 boys and 2 girls.
You had it all planned out. Okay.
Everybody laughs. I don't know why. I guess I don't know. I didn't know what I was asking for. But no, I thought that it would be beautiful to have sons to continue the Houbeck name, the legacy, boys that I could be proud of, watch them grow, kind of be like me, and then daughters to guard, defend, and protect. And if I was going to be that fierce for biological daughters, you can imagine even for spiritual daughters how much I care for and warn those that might do bad to them, right? So anyhow, for me, the path to priesthood, it really coincided with, in 2005, I had a thought about being a priest. The late Father Ron Babbage was my pastor at Our Lady Queen of All Saints in Fraser, and so when I mentioned to him that I was thinking about it, he went crazy. He's like, read this book, pray this prayer, do this, do that, and okay. And I remember in February of 2005, I was serving Mass, and after his homily, he said, before we do the creed, I just want to call a young man forward. So, James, come on up. Okay. And I stood at his left, and he said, this is James Houbeck. He's going on a discernment weekend next month, and he's going to be the first ordained priest from Our Lady Queen of All Saints. And people clapped and went crazy, and I went, I don't think so. I just turned 8. I wasn't even 18 yet.
Wow.
And so, unfortunately, when I went down, it was no fault of the seminary. I just wasn't ready. I didn't feel a lot of peace. And I remember there was, for some people in my family, they were a little caught off guard because it seemed like I was going to go. Yeah. Well, then years later, March of 2009, I had another thought about becoming a priest. It was, maybe I can tell the vocation story another time, but while I was in my class at OU, I just felt the Lord call me, what about the priesthood? And there was a lot of peace, there was a lot of encouragement, a lot of joy. Mm-hmm. And so in March of 2009, I went to Discernment Weekend. It was beautiful, met some great guys. And then in August of 2009, I entered the seminary. I had 7 years of study, 1 year of pastoral, the internship, and then in April of 2017, I was ordained a deacon on a beautiful day, and then October 7th, 2017, Our Lady of the Rosary, I became his.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story with us. It's Parish of the Week Wednesday here in Epiphany. We're talking with Father Jim Houbeck, a ministry in the Northern Lapeer County family of parishes, and originally from Roseville, Michigan, graduated Oakland University studying elementary education and serving 4 parishes in the Northern Lapeer County family of parishes. And we're talking about Parish of the Week Wednesday here. What would you like listeners to know in terms of, I'm a big advocate in visiting other parishes, meeting, different priests, listening to different homilies. What would you say to our listeners about visiting one, or if not all of the parishes that you are overseeing in the family of parishes?
So let me put it to you this way. In the Gospel of John, I think it's chapter 1:35, the Baptist is watching the Lord pass, and the 2 disciples follow him, and Jesus turned to them and said, "What are you looking for?" And they said, "Master, where are you staying?" And Jesus said, "Come and you will see." Mm-hmm. And to me, way back in 2011, when I came up here, I'm going to be very honest. The way that I got up here was I needed a place to stay. With all due respect to my family, I didn't want to stay there for the summer. I just needed a place to go. And so the then vice, he was an associate of seminarians for the college side, Father Burr, now the rector. I asked him if he could help me find a parish to stay at for the 6 weeks. And so he came back with 3 options. The first was Sacred Heart, Roseville. And I said, that's like 5 minutes for my folks. No, thank you. Second was St. Josephat in Detroit. And I said, I've lived in Detroit, the seminary. What is the other one? St. Peter and Paul North Branch. And I said, where the heck is that? And I said, you know what? I don't care. I'll take it. And so, admittedly, when I rode up with my mom and my sister, I was very crass, a city boy, and I was like, "Oh, look, they have a water tower. Mm-hmm. Oh, is that a biker bar? That'll be fun on a Friday night. And there's not even a blinking red light. That's terrific." Mm-hmm. And I fell in love. Fell in love. Obviously, I learned a lot, but the reason I share all of that is I saw the place, I fell in love that summer, and I've always had a desire to come back and be here. And so what I would just encourage any listener, first of all, you're welcome to come pray with us. You're welcome to join us. I think what people will find is, in a sense, a throwback to how church used to be, in the sense that without question, there's good fellowship out here. There's a desire to share, a desire to pray with people, and there's just, I can't explain it, but coming to North Branch, to Burnside, Brown City, and Clifford, it's just good to be here. And I think that when people, without question, there's not the convenience factor. It's 25 minutes in La City, 30 to Lapeer. Sometimes people, they think that it's just the country, there's nothing going out here. Not true. The people out here are very open to the faith. They love their priests. They support us and have done so for many, many generations. And so when people come out here, I would say it's worth the drive. It's definitely one in which you just feel the presence of Jesus, and especially the reverence at Mass. And also, too, as I'm trying to teach the people, time and place, right? That when we come to church, it's not the time to goof around. It's time to pray. And the place is his house. But then we have the gathering space, place for people to gather and to share in the love of Jesus as well.
That's beautiful. And Father, one question I love to ask guests whenever possible are about their light bulb moments, those epiphany moments where the Lord shines truth on our life. And we have many of these throughout our lifetime. Can you share one with our listeners here today?
Yep. So I'll be as brief as I can. Just the other day, my mother came up for Mass after Saturday was my dad's funeral, and so I was looking forward to just taking a little private time with my family to mourn, to just share that love. And we were getting ready to go to the restaurant here in town, and the phone rings, and I said, well, sometimes we get spam. If it's something important, they'll leave a message. Sure enough, there was a message. And I admit I got upset because, can't I just be normal? Can't I just, have a little time to grieve? And I complained, and maybe I won't use the language on the radio, but I wasn't perfect, all right? And so basically my mom was very gracious. My family, they went to town, they had lunch, went their way. And then as I was driving over to Lapeer, it was hard. I was a little upset with God because that was the thing. It's I just lost my dad. Can't I just have a minute, to be with them? I was about 15 minutes away from the place, and I heard it's the same voice that has spoken to me throughout my entire life, my entire discernment. The voice said, and they were like sheep without shepherd, and he had pity on them. And as you know, that was right after John the Baptist was beheaded. Jesus encouraged the disciples to get in the boat to take some time, and then no sooner they get in and they get to the other side, there's people already there. And Jesus saw them, he had pity on them, and he ministered to their needs. And as soon as I heard that voice and as soon as I heard that passage, I just put my head down. I said, I'm sorry. I'm still a little upset, but yet I'm grateful to be called to offer last rites to this person. And so I went in. I won't share their name just in case they don't want the knowledge out there. But I was able to give last rites to this person, to minister to the child of the person just passed. But one of the things I said to the child is that, listen, I admit it wasn't easy to come here. You're not a burden to me. You're not a problem. I'm just personally trying to grieve my own father. So, but just as I got to minister to him, just as I got to love him, I get to do the same for you. I get to do the same for your family. And Jesus gave me this chance to not necessarily have pity on you, but to be there for you and to do something that's so incredibly important for your mother. And so before I left, I put my hand on the lady's head and I said, I just want you to know I'm so grateful I got to see you today. I want you to know it's okay. You don't have to be afraid of dying. The Lord has forgiven you all your sins, and you can go in peace. And then because my mom's side is Polish and the lady, the deceased now, is Polish, I sang to her Stolat. And that's 100 years, may you live 100 years. But then I said to her, my prayer is that you don't live 100 more years here, but that you live forever in the sight of God. And to the glory of God, she passed away. We'll soon have her funeral. And to me, that moment was, as a priest, this is what I signed up for. There's going to be interruptions. There's going to be ways I have to extend myself. But the thing is, every single time I've complained or whined, because I'm a man, I'm a sinner, but every time I've done that, God has made it sweet. He's made it worth it. And every single time I have to hang my head and say, I'm sorry. But I'm also grateful that I get to serve.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that beautiful Epiphany moment, Father, with us. Any last words that you want to share with our listeners before we let you go, Father Jim Houbeck here? That was
First
beautiful,
of all,
though.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Garmo, for the time. Briefly, I do have to, if it's the version of a shout-out, I have to give a shout-out to Resurrection Parish. I know the people there are sad that I've left. I'm still praying for them all, and I'm so grateful to have had a chance to serve them for 2 years. Also, the family of parishes in that area, the Barraga family. And then also, too, as I said, with North Branch and with this area around here, come and see. And I'm so blessed to be here. I do hope and pray that I'm here, we'll say